You know, yeah, he's what you already know. I believe. I part row and everything.
Shri Krishna. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः First chapter, second segment, 8th mantra. So it's on page number 78 if you're following this book. Oh, we have a guest. Please repeat the mantra after me. Na narena avarena prokta esha suvigneyaha bahudha chintyamanaha ananya prokte gatiratra nasti aniyan hi atarkyam anupramanat. Now in the earlier mantra, he talked about, he meaning Yamadharmaraja, he talked about the student's qualifications. In this particular mantra, he talks about the teacher's qualifications. How able should be the teacher. Na narena avarena prokta eshaha suvigneyaha bahudha chintyamanaha. Na suvigneyaha. It is not that easily understandable. Because there are lots of pandita. Pandita, those who have studied a lot of Sanskritam, they have had initiation or they have had the ability to read through all these scriptures. And when they speak, it almost sounds very academic because their focal point is on the aspect of how do you score better marks in it, rather than the understanding of the subject and the content of it. Then there are those who are, by virtue of birth, by virtue of association, they are into that position wherein they'll sometimes end up having an opportunity to speak about it or guide someone about it, and it can be quite dangerous the way the meanings are interpreted. For most of the Western world, our Hindu scriptures, they take the interpretations and explanations given by one great translator. His name was Max Muller, a German employed by the British. Though at a later period of his life, in the last part of his life, he did acknowledge that this is one of the greatest traditions, and if you want to understand it, don't follow my interpretations. He did make that statement quite publicized, but that is not in circulation. In fact, when the first vinyl disc was made, the, what do you call that? The records, there's a name for it. LP, SP, LP, gramophone records. So these gramophone records, when the first one was being made, the recording company was HMV. HMV stands for His Master's Voice. So, in some interviews and things like that, they ask, do you see the HMV? There's a dog sitting in front of a gramophone record, listening to the music. So they ask, what gender is the dog? I said, how would I know? They said, His Master's Voice. So they're talking about the dog, right? His. So this is a male. Ooh. So they made the first record. And for the first recording, they invited Max Muller. And they said, make something very profound as a statement, because yours is the first voice ever recorded. So he goes on to the dais and then he starts speaking, but instead of saying hello, hi, or good evening, good afternoon, whatever it was, he chants out something, and he chants the first mantra of the Rig Veda. Agnimi ide purohitam. So that is the first mantra of the Vedas. And he says this is from that tradition, that culture, which knew the subtleties of life and living and beyond, while we were still dabbling in the caves as cavemen. What's that? Yeah, I sent it to Padma. So ask Padma to send the link. Yes, the link has been sent for those of you who are listening why there was a break. In fact, I'm checking the link right now. I see myself reflecting in it. This is called self-reflection. Pun intended, I guess. Hey Ram, I'm doing this. I don't know why. Oh, during a lecture. I forwarded that to you. Okay. Agnimide Purohitam. This was the first mantra chanted. But his contribution, he knew no Sanskrit. He knew no introduction to Hinduism. And based off of a dictionary, which was also done by another British, his name was William something. And based on his dictionary, he sat down with the words. And there are so many aspects of the Vedic literature which is not in the current generation vocabulary. And it was not covered in the dictionary. and it is left to the interpretations of Max Miller. And his interpretations are, and based off of that, the entire West has the critical standpoint on the Vedas, the critical standpoint on Manusmriti, the critical standpoint on various aspects of our Hindu scriptures. And that has been taken in thanks to, I know I'm on record, but still, thanks to Jawaharlal Nehru, that he implemented that thought into the Indian syllabus and curriculum, that even those who are the Indian researchers and scientists follow that as a standard. There is such a aberration in the meanings that are being given that it is not with pride that when a Hindu reads his own scriptures misinterpreted and further research based on that misinterpretation, and they claim that, oh yeah, Manusmriti is the worst scripture, because all the available English translations are based out of that misinterpretation of Max Miller. Na narena avarena prokta esha suvigneyah. If spoken by somebody who is not qualified, it would only lead to confusions. Like once this was in Madhya Pradesh, I think. Madhya Pradesh, and there was Panditji who was telling the town folk. He was a priest at a temple, very famous temple. So we went there for puja, and then he did his aarti, and he asked, Maharaj, kahan se aaye aap? Where are you from? So I said, I am from Chinmaya Mission, मैं Dakshin Bharat, South India. I have come here to give a pravachan in Hindi. So he looked at, कौन विषय पे बोल रहे हैं आप? What topic are you talking on? Then I said, the 9th chapter, Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga. So he just turned around blabbering to himself or talking to himself saying, तो आजकल राजा लोग रहे कहाँ? Where are the kings and kingdoms these days? So to which king are you speaking this knowledge to? Because his understanding was Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga means this Vidya is for Rajas and this secret is for the kings. That's a total misinterpretation. Of the Vidyas, this is like the king. Of the secrets, this is like the king. Now, where is that interpretation? And misinterpreted as knowledge for the kings, secret of the kings. The total meaning is lost. So it has to be interpreted. I'm just taking few peripheral examples. When people who don't know the reference and try to interpret, the meanings can be painfully hilarious. They pain you because they're not right, but sometimes it has some comical aspect to that error. Like I was watching long time ago, when I was in India, there is this movie, Mask. And in India, the movie released has the Hindi subtitles. And when you read that Hindi subtitles, you just jump off your chair and roll on the floor. So there is this dance wherein he wears the mask, and this girl is a dancer, and this dancer is doing a very good job, and he does pair with her up and dance. And then he turns around and says, smoking hot. The Hindi translation subtitle there, तू गरम भी है धुआं भी है. Literal translation, that you are smoking hot, meaning you are smoke and you are heat. Like And probably in the entire theater, I was the only one laughing out loud because what he spoke and what was interpreted was not the same. And everybody was looking, "Oh, what is wrong with you?" So one has to be very careful with these subtler aspects of spiritual understanding. It cannot be misinterpreted by any Tom, Dick, and Harry. So, na narena avarena proktayesha suvigneyaha bahudha chintyamanaha, because it has to be thought through, well thought through. And somebody who has not been initiated in it, somebody who does not hold a personal experience in it. It's not just the words, it's not just the meaning. Behind the meaning, the experience has to be experienced by the one. Therefore, often we find one of the qualifications of the guru is Shrotriyaha Brahmanishtancha. That he has to be well read, that he understands the logic, he understands the entire reasoning clearly without getting any confusions. And he has to have contemplated on every aspect of it. But it will still be bookish knowledge if that person has not had Brahmanishtatva. Brahmanishtha, the one who has experienced the core of one's own being. As long as we have not touched fire, when we talk about fire, I have heard that it burns. I have heard that people when they were careless, and you only talk about second, third-handed experiences. Refer to various examples. If you have had that when you're working on a kitchen or when you were on a campfire or something, there was a huge fire that you built and you have an experience with it, then your point is not, I have heard or I believe it, fire burns. No. I know that it burns. The conviction with which that statement comes has a different clarity, spashtata there. So for somebody who has experienced it versus somebody who does not experience it is trying to interpret it, there's a huge difference. Once Ramana Maharshi's best friend and the first disciple was a great well-learned scholar called Ganapati Muni. His complete name was Kavya Ghanta Ganapati Muni. KG Muni. And he was very well read in all the scriptures and Sanskrit and other things. And he was baffled the first time when he mustered up some courage and asked the Ramana Maharshi ji that, have you gone through scriptures? He said, no. And he was like, you've not gone through scriptures, but you speak like verbatim, like what the scriptures are saying. May I introduce you to some scriptures, he says. He says, sure. So he starts with Ishavasyopanishad. And as he's going through the Upanishad and trying to explain it, I said, I don't need to waste my time on this anymore. I already know this. Until you get the experience, the scriptures stand as the proof. Once you have the experience, you are the proof for that scripture. You are the living model for that scripture and its validity. So such an experienced one, when they speak about the scriptures, it carries depth in it. Ananya prokte gatiratra nasti. Gatiratra nasti, when it is taught by another, ananya. When it is taught by another who is well versed in it, who has the depth of experience with, such teacher, when they teach about Brahman, they give you the direct path. they don't make a living, they don't make a business out of it. They don't make it what do you call them? The Deepak Chopras of the day. Sorry, I'm picking too many names today. It's a business. It's how you market it for them. And sometimes how it is packaged, many of us get carried away. Oh, he speaks so good. But for those who have had the experience, listen to them. They're talking nonsense. It's a very flowery way of presenting it, and we fall for that flowery way of presentation. And then there are those who promise. I don't know if you have ever, don't ever go to such. There are people wherein they would say that it's a meditation, spiritual or realization in 10 days. I have had people bring me the brochures and tell me, Swamiji, you should also come. And even their marketing people, they would come and say, Swamiji, you should come and grace the stage and other things. And the way they market it, like there was this lady who forced me to come and meet one such. And the environment was such that that person was already, that lady was sitting already on the chair. There was no other chair. So I sat down. I have no comms to be, oh, get me another chair. I have to sit. No, I just sat down. And by the time I come back to the ashram, just 10-15 minutes away from here, I come back to the ashram and somebody already forwards me a link. Swamiji, what is this? So I open the link and I see that that photograph of mine with that lady has already been posted on their website and various other medias, saying that the greatness of our teacher, that even sadhus of Chinmay Mission come for consultation with her. I felt violated. And when somebody pushes my buttons in that direction, they have had it that day. So this is a 10-day realization camp. I'll touch you and you will realize. And hilarious videos on YouTube, you can see them. They'll what do you call? Say it loud. Levitate. So they're trying to levitate, like frogs jumping all over the place. Do you feel it? No. You don't have Shraddha. You should have that faith and you will feel it. And then somebody comes and again asks you, do you feel it? Yeah. See, there are 500 people experiencing it. You don't experience, you don't have Shraddha. And that 10 days doesn't come cheap. Like $7,000 for 10-day camp and say that you will get realization. Yes, definitely you will get realization. What do you realize about is in question. You realize that your wallet has gone $7,000 lighter. That is the realization that you get. That's why Gurudev's method was so beautiful. His vision, impeccable. His standpoint was, wherever this yajna is conducted, I would not take money for conducting the yajna, but I would ask bhiksha, an unforced environment of asking bhiksha, that if this knowledge has touched you and if you feel that you have experienced something, whatever you give in support is fine. That is called Guru Dakshina, asking for, begging for support. I think it was in 87 or 88. The Tirupati Tirumala Devasthana, the Balaji temple, what do you call them? The body which runs the temple invited Swamiji, saying that please come, we will arrange for. And it was an elaborate program arranged, elaborate, they have enough funds. So just about 10 days before Gurudev would come in, they sent him a word saying, please do not ask for Guru Dakshina. Whatever amount that you say, we will pay it to you ahead of time. Let's make it a free event. He said, mine is a free event. I am a sannyasi, but I am not a lousy businessman. These are Gurudev's words. If I had to collect a fee, I would collect it in the beginning and then make them enter. I wouldn't collect the fee afterwards. So of course my events are free. And I would not accept the funds that you would give, because it would not be called bhiksha, it would be called a business. That for whatever worth that you are giving money, I would have to sell my vidya for that much. Then I would not have the freedom to speak what I have to speak. Then you will stipulate terms as to how I should speak or what I should speak. Vidya cannot be given in such kind of a constrained environment. He refused it. And immediately the organizing committee said, Yajna cancelled. So he called up chicks from Hyderabad and Chennai, sent us a message saying, guys, I need volunteers to organize this yajna. Will you all jump in? There is a Chinmay mission, you have to help them organize this. Needless to say, we were in 2 days' time, we were about 150 people. And in the same venue where it was being organized, we ended up securing that place in spite of all the red tape and everything, and organized that Gurudev's yajna there. It is never for a payment. Vidya is not a business. And now somebody says, oh, yoga is patented. Tera baap ka hai? You don't, it is not your invention, it is not your discovery, it is not something that you hold royalty on. It is an ancient knowledge and you have no business patenting it. Gurudev had this brilliant thought that every district in India should have a Chinmaya Vidyalaya. And that way, in every town, every district, we can have students who have been trained by the Vedic culture. And when they go into different walks of life, the texture, the quality of life, the quality of leadership will change, thereby changing the mindset of entire nation. The present Birla head, his father, loved the idea. And he came forward to Gurudev and said, Swamiji, I'll sponsor building. We are talking schools in thousands. If I'm not wrong, there are about 1.5 lakh, 150,000 districts or something, or more. I may be wrong with the number. And he said, I'll build them for you. Can we do a 50-50 partnership? that after you pass away, all those schools will belong to Birla. As long as you are there, you will be the head leading every direction for the school. And Gurudev said that Saraswati is not your puppet that will dance according to the tunes of your Lakshmi. Saraswati should stand independent as she bestows upon the students who are qualified to receive that knowledge. See the clarity? When such masters give the direction, there are no hoops, there are no loops, there are no glitches there. There is one direct path. And when people don't understand this, and they take one aspect of it, and then start exaggerating it, misinterpreting it, wrong interpreting it, not understanding it, leads to so much of confusion. Like there is a great master, his name is Nisarga Datta Maharaj. And one of the most beautiful works that he has ever contributed to the volume of Vedanta is I Am That. His conversations with the students. Very profound, very direct. Often he would speak from the standpoint of absoluteness, nothing from the lower realm. He would talk only from that standpoint of pure Brahman. And people would often hear him say that you talk about doership and enjoyership and vasana and karma bandha and being bound. To start with the thought that you are bound itself is the biggest bondage. Therefore, there is no karma, there is no doership. From that standpoint, what he said was absolutely right. Nobody can challenge it. Mandukya Upanishad speaks the same way. Ashtavakra Gita speaks the same way. And he was not wrong. But after him, there are at least 3 students whose books I have gone through. My heart cries. Because they now insist that there is nothing called doership, there is nothing called responsibility, there is nothing called duty. Do whatever you feel like, whenever you feel like. There is no bondage. Bondage in itself is a myth. You are already liberated. And that is bunch of nonsense. You can substitute whatever you want instead of nonsense. I have to hold the maryada of this Veda Pitha. And what does the confusion that it leads to? Many educated, many qualified fall trapped to this wrong teaching or wrong interpretation. I have had to look into such various families wherein one of the spouses has taken into this kind of thinking and suddenly resigned the job. Absolute no participation with family and responsibilities. Eat, live lavishly. Why? I feel like it. There is no responsibility. Even to burden someone with responsibility is a bondage. I am already liberated. Why do I need to bind myself with any kind of such And suddenly the whole family is shattered. The kids have to go to school. There is nobody taking care. The other spouse is left high and dry. And the impact of it is quite deep. Now, in order to maintain your lavishness, what do? You start borrowing money, you start going to the lenders, and they make it their responsibility to get every penny back. And it ends up being a very ugly scene. I mean, this is in the Vedanta terms. Now, in the Yoga Kriya is all the Hatha Yoga, the Raja Yoga, and such field. Anybody who can say yoga can become a yoga teacher. Butchering all the mantras. Om Saurya Namaha. Om Gam Phatvaye Namaha. There are some very genuine ones who have understood it better than any other Hindu would have understood it. And they're doing an awesome job. I'm not talking about them. And I'm talking about those who are trying to ape and use this field for their own personal benefits. Udara nimittam bahukrita veshaha. Because in this field, there's enough money. After you struggle hard for, say, about your education is from kindergarten through your master's or doctorate, about 25 years gone. Then you struggle hard another 30, 40 years. How much does an engineer put in his bank? After 35, 40 years of service. Just give me a rough figure. I'll not hold it against you. That he can relax after retirement. Savings. Now he's talking of the entire collection at the end. Say about 400, 500K. More than that? 700? 750, 800? A doctor? Couple of million after 30, 40 years? A lawyer, if he really hits it hard, maybe he also another couple of million after 30, 40 years. Take to this path. Within a year, you'll make those many million. You just need to know how to twist things around. And you go there, every street has now yoga studios, yoga parlors, yoga this, yoga that. It is supposed to be a sattvic environment. And what you hear in the background music is Bhangra music, or rock or pop or Jai Ho, after that won the Oscars. It has to be a different environment, different mindset. And they make a business out of it. Now, Kriya Yoga, the Pranayama, the Pranic Shakti, is not to be meddled with by those who are not qualified. You can meddle with the statues of God, the idols of God, books of Vedanta, but Prana Shakti is live. and you mess with it, it has long-term repercussions for that individual. Anybody and any whosoever it is, they just dabble with some words, and just because you can say it in a very soothing manner, relax, you don't become a meditation teacher. And this is not something to be misled with. And this is not to be used for any personal gain. That is why those who go for this knowledge, the first prerequisite is renounce everything, not gain everything. Getting the point? So those who have that clarity that this knowledge is to be used for the internal growth and reconnection to that self within, and can guide us to that direct path, not for personal gains or benefits, to find such one teacher who could develop aniyan hi atarkyam anupramatnat, because it is one of the subtlest things in the world, subtler than the subtlest of the sciences that you can bring up. Because all the sciences dwell on the platform of logic, and logic is in the realm of intellect. This spiritual field is beyond the intellect, therefore the most subtle one, and the one who can guide to that direct path has to necessarily be that subtle one. I think I've spoken enough about it. The ninth mantra. Naisha tarkena matirapaneya प्रोक्तान्येनैव सुज्ञानाय प्रेष्ठ यां त्वमापः सत्यधृतिर्बतासि त्वां दृङ्नो भूयान्नचिकेत प्रष्टा. Wow. I think Lord Yama was ecstatic, because since creation he has been standing in the threshold of life and death. Through him, when something passes, is death. Until then is life. So he is at that threshold. And I like to believe that his office is in Naraka, or in the entrance, because that is easier to push people. Maximum come that way, so it is easier to push them. And his house, residence, is in Swarga. So every day he has to go through the rush hour to reach his office on his Yamaha. So it has been his life all along. So seldom has he found that kind of quality in a student. Seldom has he found a student who would go face to face with Yama and say, please teach me, and play around with him like Nachiketa is playing around. You need a lot of courage to stand in front of Yama, because he is the dharma jnata. He can see through. And here is Nachiketa standing with utmost dispassion. Whatever test he has thrown at him, he just tore them apart. So Yama is saying, Naisha tarkena matirapaneya. This knowledge cannot be gained through the process of argumentation. Tarka. Once, and I have had this experience with one of the other organization, Hindu organization. But sometimes I find them very hilarious, I would say. They said, who gave Bhagavad Gita? A simple question, right? So who is the who are the two between whom the dialogue is happening? Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Who wrote it? What was the pair? Ganesha and Lord Ganesha and Vedavyas Bhagavan. Who were the others that were listening on to it? Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. Hanumanji on the flag. Right? We know this as a history. Now this person from that organization, this is, you have been teaching it wrong. It's all lie. I said, I'm ready to accept it provided you can prove it. It was given by Shiv Baba. And where the heck did he come from? Now, where is the logical connection? Oh, no. This message was given by Shiv Baba, which was taken by Krishna. And he reused it without mentioning. He plagiarized Shiv Baba. I said, where the heck is, I have gone through quite few scriptures. Where the heck is the Shiv Baba coming from? You mean Lord Shiva? No, Shiv Baba. Oh, कौन है ये? So I've had this kind of experience with that organization. So once I was in a train, and there was this lady, mostly it is predominantly a lot of ladies in that organization, and this lady across was sitting, and you can now you know how when you carry yourself, sometimes you also represent your institution, and when the way you walk, talk, you can immediately identify which organization you belong to if you have lived as long as in. I immediately recognized it, and I quickly took out my book. I didn't want to unnecessarily get into. I took out my book and started reading and writing. I kept myself busy, my head down. I didn't want to talk. Very disturbing. Seriously, Shiv Baba. So this lady, Suniye, excuse me. I said, oh, I said, what? And then she says, can we have a little discussion? So I had to nip it at the bud, like, no, I didn't want to get into such. So I said, what to discuss? If you say that you are a woman and if I say that I'm a man, they both are factuals, but we both are saying two different things. And to argue about it, it doesn't make sense. You are true at your standpoint, I am true at my standpoint. Let us be like that. Happy journey. Otherwise, get into the arguments wherein they become fanatical about their standpoints, and then they end up saying that my standpoint is better than your standpoint. It is not betterness because of my opinion. How solid and valid is the logic that is provided? Let the logic speak for itself. When that is one amazing thing when you read Adi Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya. He had constant Vada Vivada with everyone during that period to re-establish Sanatana Dharma. But in his commentary, he never ever mentions a person or an institution or an organization he just takes the logic of that which they are basing on and then proves that the logic is not substantial enough, not complete enough, and gives the completeness to that logic by proving, by getting the Shastra and quoting the Shastra saying this is where it finds its completeness, thereby re-establishing Sanatana Dharma. Otherwise, it becomes an animosity, expression of animosity, wherein you start criticizing each other's opinions. Let's cut that. Instead of criticizing the opinions, let's get to the logic of it. And then Shastra Pramana, let the logic stand as a proof, not as an opinion. It is not the belief, it is not the faith, it is a logic that has to stand firm. Not understanding this, we get into this different discussion patterns and go into the loops, almost like pulling each other's hair out. And now I should go for such competitions. Any hardly left? They'll be at loss. Ab kya khinchoge? Try. Because Paramatma is not in the realm of argumentation. He is not in Vada Vivada. And we get caught up. Is Paramatma Nirguna Nirakara or Saguna Sakara? Is Dvaita better or Advaita better? Where is the question? There was a question today asked. We had a question answer session. Why is there, I mean, they didn't ask about the animosity, but the question, I had to cover that aspect as well. Shaivism and Vaishnavism. So I said, mix both of them. What you get is a tic-tac-toe game. They were all like, what? I said, draw 3 lines and mix 3 lines. What do you get? You can play tic-tac-toe. Shiva is better. Vishnu is there. If you have done enough punya is when you will worship Vishnu. All the other papis worship Shiva. Who worshipped Shiva? Ravana worshipped Shiva. Bhasmasura worshipped Shiva. All these Adhama papis worship Shiva. If you have to worship Vishnu, you have to be a punyavan. They're so bitter towards Shiva. Unfortunately, Bhishma Maharaj, while he was on the deathbed, on the bed of arrows, he spoke Vishnu Sahasranama, and in that Vishnu Sahasranama, more than couple of times, Vishnu is referred with Shiva's names. And these people are so bitter, like, Rudro, Bahushira, Vabrur, Vishva, Yonesh, Shuchishravaha. So when the Vaishnavites who are very fanatic, when they chant, they'll say, Babru, Yonesh, Shuchishravaha. They literally swallow it, they'll never utter. Oh, Papa. It is Papa to utter those words. What is that? Avishnu. Shantam papam, Shantam papam. All the fanatic hooligans. So much so that this bitterness, I usually put the bhasma. And that day I was in Vrindavan. I did not realize. I put the bhasma and I went into the shop to buy a beautiful Krishna Murti. Usually when I go to Vrindavan, I purchase about 10-15 of them and give to various Krishna bhaktas. So I was asking for him the rate and I was trying to, and somebody that I know who lives in Vrindavan, he said, that time I was still a brahmachari. He said, brahmachari ji, aap jaiye, I'll get it for you. What is the price that you want it for? I'll negotiate it and bring it. I didn't understand. That fellow would not speak to me. And later he told me it is because you are wearing the 3 lines this way. He considers it as a sacrilege to deal in business even with somebody who wears the bhasma. He wouldn't even speak to that fellow. Neech. Where are we getting caught up in? Shiva's Ishtadaiva is Vishnu's avatara, who is Rama. Parvatyavacha kenopayena laghuna Vishnor nama sahasrakam. Tell me a shortcut, O Lord Shiva. I have 2 kids to raise. I have the kitchen to maintain. And I have your Rudra Ganas. I don't have time to chant the entire 1,000 names. So then Lord Shiva said, Shiva Vacha Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane. Just chant Shri Rama Rama Rameti. Sahasranama Tattulyam. It is equivalent to chanting Sahasranama. Who gave this message? Lord Shiva himself gave it. He does not have any animosity. He worships, he meditates. The Lord of his heart is Lord Rama himself. Who did Lord Rama worship? Just before going to the battle, crossing Bharat Varsha, he installed a Shivalinga and worshipped a Shivalinga. They don't have a problem. Why do you have a problem? Do you know what was the Ishtadaiva of Lord Krishna? It was Lord Shiva. Every day in the morning he would perform Shiva Abhisheka every single day. Unlike what we see when he comes into the public, when he wears the nama, the tilak, he would wear the tripundarika, the bhasma, while he is worshipping. He didn't have a problem. Stop being fanatical. Another big Dvaita, Advaita. Ayyo. Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita and Advaita, they are not 3 separate paths fighting for each other. If we think that they are, then we are stuck in our own stupidity. Can you compare somebody in kindergarten, 7th grade and 12th grade and say, pick which one of them is the best? Idiot. Your comparison itself is wrong. Pick somebody, 3 people from kindergarten and say, which one of these 3 is a better one in kindergarten? I can tell you. Pick somebody in middle school and say, which one of them 3? Or pick somebody in 12th grade. I can tell you. Kindergarten, 7th grade and 12th grade, and now say which one of them is better. Your question itself is wrong. You have to go through the Dvaita, wherein you realize that there is something unique, there is something spectacular out there. some unseen, unknown force which runs this entire cosmos, and I am an integral part of it. I have to serve that. Then you become subtler and you realize that there are certain aspects of that which I am worshipping reflecting in me. He is Sarvavyapi, Sarvagnya, Sarvantaryami. I am Alpavyapi, Alpagnya, Alpavyapi. There are certain things that are reflecting, but in limited measures. So he is the whole and I am the part of it. Vishishtadvaita. And then you grow subtler and then it says, you are that. To know that God exists is called jnana. To know that I am that God who is in existence is called vijnana, the experiential truth. There is no confusion in there. And I am not making it up. Lord Rama asks Hanumanji, "O Hanuman, whenever you come to interact with me, how do you see me?" He was not going to answer it in a smart aleck way, which many of the youngsters, once they finish, they start answering. Oh, Brahman? Hanumanji was sincere in the answer. He didn't say that, oh, how do you see me? With my eyes. He said, oh Lord, Deha Drishtya, when I am functioning from the standpoint of the body, Tvad Dasaha, I am your Dasa, Dvaita. Jiva Drishtya, from the standpoint of the soul, Tvad Amshakaha, I am a part of you. Atma Drishtya, from the supreme standpoint, Tavaivaham, I and you are one. There is not any difference. Iti me nishchita matihi. This is my firm conviction. And based on that, we create arguments. Na esha tarkena matirapaniya. This cannot be found through tarka. Tarka, the hodgepodge, is still in the realm of intellect. How else do we find it? That is said in the next three lines that we will see next week. I just saw that it was 8:05. I usually don't jump overboard. We'll stop here. I guess I was in the consumed environment of bashing the bashers. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shant Shant Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.